People love to complain about having the worst year ever, but what if I told you scientists have actually found the official worst year to be alive? And no, it wasn't 2020, not even close. Seriously, we've all been there. You have a bad day, a bad week, you think it's the end of the world. But trust me, it's all about perspective. Because while you were bummed that the new Star Wars movie wasn't great, the people living in the year 536 had a slightly bigger problem. The sun literally vanished. Yeah. Let that sink in. So what on earth was happening? Well, the first clue in this planet-wide mystery is a simple, terrifying fact. The sky just went dark. For everyone. And this isn't some legend. We have eyewitness accounts. A Byzantine historian, a guy named Procopius, actually wrote that the sun gave off light without brightness, like the moon. Can you even imagine looking up and seeing a cold, dim moon where our bright, warm sun should be? Chilling. And this wasn't just a bad day or a weird eclipse. We're talking 18 months of a constant, spooky twilight. The sun was basically a ghost, barely showing up for maybe 4 hours a day. And even then, it was just this weak, watery light. People honestly thought the world was ending. With the planet's main heater turned off, you can guess what happened next. Global temperatures absolutely cratered, dropping by as much as 2.5 degrees Celsius. Now that might not sound like a huge number, but on a global scale, it's enough to completely break the climate. And the fallout was instant, and it was brutal. No sun means no crops. Famine swept the globe. They called it the bread failure in Ireland. China had snow in the middle of summer. And get this, even the wine that year apparently tasted like sour grapes. Nothing was safe. But believe it or not, a dim sun and some bad wine, that was just the opening act. The world was about to spiral into something so much worse. Okay, over in China, things got even more bizarre. Historical records talk about a weird yellow dust falling from the sky. And not just a little bit, so much of it that you could apparently scoop it up in your hands. This dust, combined with the endless cold, just annihilated the crops. It kicked off a horrible 2-year famine. The human toll was just staggering. In one region alone, Xinjiang, up to 75% of the entire population starved to death. And just when you think it cannot possibly get any worse, it does. The world's population, already weak and starving, was the perfect target for a new nightmare, the Plague of Justinian. This was a full-blown bubonic plague that just ripped across the globe. The scale of this is hard to even comprehend. We're talking an estimated 50 million people dead. That was a massive chunk of the entire human population at the time. The Byzantine Empire, which was pretty much the center of the world back then, got hit the hardest. At its peak, the plague wiped out more than half of its people. It was a civilization-level catastrophe that the empire never really recovered from. So, we've got a dark sky, a frozen planet, mass starvation, and a killer plague. It's a true apocalypse. But what was the villain behind it all? What could possibly cause a disaster this big? For centuries, this was one of history's greatest mysteries. What in the world triggered the worst year in recorded history? Well, the answer, as it turns out, was literally explosive. Here's how the crime went down. 1. A massive volcano erupts somewhere on Earth. 2. It shoots a colossal cloud of ash and sulfur high into the atmosphere, basically creating a planetary sun shield. 3. This plunges the Earth into a volcanic winter. 4. Crops fail, and civilizations start to crumble. And we're not just talking about one bad year. This eruption kicked off a period of global cooling that lasted for over 100 years. Scientists now have a name for it, the Late Antique Little Ice Age. The world didn't just have a bad year, it was fundamentally broken for a century. Okay, but how did we figure all this out? This is the really cool part. How did modern science solve a cold case that's 1,500 years old? The clues were literally frozen in time. First, scientists drilled deep into a Swiss glacier and found a layer of volcanic ash perfectly dated to the spring of 536. That's the smoking gun. Then they looked at tree rings from that same time. The trees barely grew at all. And the final clue? Decades later, traces of lead show up in the ice again, which means the economy had finally recovered enough for people to start mining silver. Just think about that timeline for a second. The eruption happens in 536. The plague hits 5 years later. But the definitive proof, the scientific discovery that tied it all together, that didn't happen until 2018. a 1,500-year-old mystery solved in our lifetimes. Pretty amazing. So, a single volcano plunged the world into darkness and chaos for almost 100 years, which leaves us with one pretty chilling thought. We know it's not a question of if another one goes off, but when. So what happens next time?